know you.
Hey.
I've watched the stream. Yeah. How are you?
Good, how are you? Oh, there we go. Mike, good. How are you?
I'm good, man. This is surreal.
I'm not. There we go.
Yeah, join. Oh, feels so good to be here.
Hi, yeah, welcome.
Yeah,
it's really cool to see.
How's your night been?
It's been good so far. I've been manning. We have a booth over there for the Champion Sandbox. People can just like try out the new champs. I've been manning that. It's been really cool to meet everyone.
Yeah.
Although there's a little bit of a disconnect sometimes because I've seen a bunch of people like on YouTube and on social media, and their faces don't quite match. Like in person, someone walk up to me, I'm like, "You look vaguely familiar." Oh, I know. Yeah. So it just takes a bit. So it's been really cool having an in-person event like this.
Yeah, man. It's my first time coming to I've never been to New York Comic Con.
Yeah, me neither. So.
Oh yeah. Perfect. CCGR back there.
Yeah.
So you're a lead champion designer.
Yes.
You want to explain what your role is?
Yeah. So obviously I design champions at a pretty high level. The champ design team. Our main responsibility is making sure that our character designs feel like these Marvel characters that we're emulating. And so that takes a bunch of different forms. Obviously, we work with Marvel directly to figure out the champs that we're releasing, so we lock down the timeline. We have like a loose idea of what we're doing kind of for most of next year already.
Yeah, exciting.
And then, which is super cool. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Okay.
And then we actually design the characters. And so we do lots of back and forths with the art team on the animation and the VFX and all the kind of the fight mechanics. We build the kits ourselves from scratch. And so all the champion abilities are what the champ design team does. We will have peer reviews. We'll do play tests. We'll work with the designers who are working on the various modes like AQ and AW and like raids and that kind of thing to make sure that the champions feel good in different modes, at different targets, that kind of thing. And then we kind of get the champs out there. And then obviously chat a bunch in the CCP Discord as well, just to make sure that you're getting our insight into the characters as well.
Yeah.
And then technically as lead, I kind of manage the team as well. So I'm making sure that people I'm giving them good design feedback, managing our timelines a little bit, making sure people are working on content that's interesting to them. Whenever there's a new story chapter that's coming out, we are also responsible for working on the bosses.
Yes.
And so I kind of make sure that different designers are working on different things. People like to try out different classes and mechanics, that kind of thing. So, yeah. And I've been on the team for 5.5 years now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right. So, I was going to talk about, Yes, you brought up act bosses. So we just had Cerastes be released.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit?
About just Cerastes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
How do you say that?
Cerastes.
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 Yes. Yeah. Not. I've seen Carastes a little bit. And that doesn't help. So I can tell you a little bit about him. I wasn't the one who designed him, so I'm not going to be the expert on it. There's a couple different interesting things about him. He's got a kind of armor that is present during the fight, and obviously you need to break it down to be able to deal him damage effectively, kind of similar to Cytalis and Bahamut.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got a little bit of a different thing where you have to manage. He's got kind of 3 different armors, and you deal damage to them in 3 different ways. One of them is strikers, and only by kind of managing them kind of in a balanced manner, and then taking them out in kind of an equal way, will you really be able to deal effective damage to him. And it's a little bit different as well from our other recent bosses. A lot of the bosses, ever since the Grandmaster, had kind of a phase design to them, where as the health dwindles down, these very clear kind of chapters. And Cerastes is a little bit different. We wanted to mix it up slightly for him, so he's got the fight just has an overall different kind of flow to it.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
My brother was playing it, and I just saw him.
And then, of course, obviously, he is a corrupted version of Tony Stark. He is a corrupted Iron Man, and so there's got plenty of tech mechanics in there as well. The stuff that you're going to want to use against him is lots of cosmic mechanics, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I love it. I like those characters. We the Bahamut and Cytalis we saw in M-Rock, so they're coming over.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
And we did not see this Tony variant. So
no, yeah, I remember seeing that teaser image way back when. So we're getting into the members now of Ouroboros that were not spoiled. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. More to come.
Yes.
I'm very. Yeah. I can feel it. No, I'm really excited. I really loved M-Rock's story and then those characters. crossover
Yep.
is good. Any the game ending, you can kind of still preserve and continue that storytelling, which is I think
Yeah,
is dope.
and they've been really interesting too, from kind of that champ design perspective. We hold our classes in very high regard.
Yeah.
We try and make sure that champions of a given class feel predictable while also trying to carve out new ground. And so it's really cool. Like the couple bosses leading up to them were a little bit different. Like Gwenmaster was kind of about more so those plot points and notable characters in the contest themselves. The Kangs had kind of their own thing, but these Ouroboros characters, we've been able to do really cool boss spins on class mechanics.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's why you got a lot of the trap and the prowess mechanics with Cytalis, the purify and the skill interactions with Bahamut, the science champion. So yeah, it's really cool to watch.
Okay, yeah, I was feeling that with the classes. I was like 3, like Cytalis, okay, it makes sense. Bahamut, okay. Now with the Tony,
Yep.
I was like, okay, my head's spinning on what the next ones will be. So
Indeed.
we'll have
to see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. How did you safeguard contest again? Herc is man.
How do you safeguard contest against Herc? And is there a nerf coming for him? So there's no nerf coming for Herc. Safeguarding against him is an interesting process.
Yeah.
And actually, this is something that we find over time as well. There's been a couple notable champions with the history of the contest who kind of they loom large over everything. I know when I first came on the contest back in 2018-ish,
yes.
And so that was around when Blade was obviously incredibly
the
common. And I remember, and this is back when I was just new on the team, and so a lot of our design reviews were talking about Blade and the Blade Trinity and how do you design content to challenge that Trinity.
Absolutely.
And there's been a couple other notable other champions since then. So there's the Blade Trinity, Corvus dominated for a very long time, Doom was up there, and now Herc. And the answer to how we kind of safeguard against him, it's a bit of a niche question. It depends on the content that we're building, because certain bits of content, we have our Abyss, or our Everest content like Abyss, that's targeted at the highest tier, the end game players, and that's when we want to really, really get specific about champion counters and RPG mechanics. So that's when we'll go out of our way to add a lot of counters and safeguards against a champion like Herc. And so that's stuff like buff duration as an easy example. But you have to kind of hit him in a bunch of different spots because of the number of mechanics he's got going on. Whereas if you compare it to the monthly event quests, or we call them the MQs or the meta quests, which is kind of the other thing that comes out every month, those are a little bit less intense. Basically, they're just kind of that run-of-the-mill monthly content, and so we basically aren't quite as concerned about Herc in that content, because actually the point of that is really just to get in there and play the game. It's not to hit that tippy top.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a Slayer Gods raid. Hello. Slayer, actually, I was on the same flight as Padme, so that's pretty funny. We were talking about you. Not in a bad way.
I see Ghost mentioned in the chat. She was another one for a long time that we had to design around. Yeah. Although for her, it's a little bit easier because of her, the phase being vulnerable to armor break makes it a little bit easier to just kind of shut off in certain pieces of content.
I was playing Ghost when she was the top.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. All right, if I missed your question, do you think they're going to add a crossover character like Marvel vs. DC? I would hope so, but it seems very complicated.
Yeah, to be honest about it, the biggest thing there is legal.
Yes.
At the end of the day, we are a company that is producing a Marvel product.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go through complicated legal licensing
to
get these characters in the game. And actually, I was the one who worked on all 4 of the Fantastic Four characters.
Yeah.
And that was a very big deal because up until that point, the F4 weren't allowed to be used in any game content. And basically there was a legal shift that happened that year, and it was like, okay, cool, now we can use them. Let's do a whole year out of it. We did all the F4. We did the F4, we did the corresponding villains for each of their pairings, that kind of thing. So there's a bunch of just additional ramifications for all these characters that a lot of players don't even see. Interestingly, Lady Deathstrike had that for a long time as well.
Yeah,
one of the reasons why she wasn't added to the contest until recently was for a similar kind of, there were just some legal ramifications that we had to make sure got sorted before we could add her.
Yeah.
And so I imagine something like a Marvel DC crossover character is
going
to have the most legal ramifications,
absolutely.
and is I can't even
Yeah.
That feels very, very, very difficult for a legal team to
Yeah,
accomplish.
it's not on Kabam. It's on. It's
Yeah, exactly.
it's just how it works. So it's talking. All right. Yeah, man. I hope so. And Marvel being under Disney, you'd hope, and Mirrorverse being another game under Kabam. So
Yes.
there's hope eventually if something ever happens.
Who is my favorite character that I've designed?
Yeah.
I love all my children equally. Hulkling has a very special place in my heart.
Dude.
Like very important to me from like an emotional perspective, but obviously like just there was a weirdly enough, I'm very proud of Pierce as a mechanic.
Yeah.
It was I kind of identified a spot like armor pen is a stat that has existed in the game since its inception, but we haven't really done a lot with it. And then we were kind of in this spot of like Penny Parker was obviously running rampant at the time, and we very intentionally designed her auto block and her defensive mechanics to be very hard to get around. And I kind of had this idea for a Cosmic that is very good against Penny would be one that could hit into block very effectively, and that's where both his play style and the Pierce mechanic came from. And then out of that, a lot of the other that, and then some pretty heavy Super Skrull vibes with the shapeshift charges. Obviously, like they deal with it very differently, but that concept of the Skrulls being a shapeshifting race and having a little bit of that choose your own adventure style, where if you want to like get different effects, you do different things to trigger them. That like all those kind of things coalesced into a single champion. And then on top of all that, I had two other minor goals of like making sure that he was relatively easy to play. We have a lot of kits that get pretty complex.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I wanted to go a little bit simpler for him while also still being satisfying. And I had my last goal at kind of the bottom of the design page was big orange numbers. We talk a lot about big yellow numbers. Crits are wonderful, but occasionally you want to build a champ that doesn't just rely on the big yellow numbers. And so for him specifically, that's why his Fury buffs are so chunky, and why I actually reduced his crit stats, because I want you to rely on that buff and lean into Fury mechanics instead of crit mechanics, basically.
How cool was it seeing Hulkling in the Brawl being used?
That was super awesome. I mean, like, in a weird roundabout way, like I've kind of gotten used now to seeing him show up in a bunch of content. So, but it's super awesome seeing competition at this level. For the record, like I am not quite at that level. Like I play the game for like my job and our playtests and that kind of thing. But just the nature of the amount of hours you need to put in to like really succeed at that level is just kind of like a little bit beyond what I'm able to kind of plug out in a day. So it's been really cool seeing this like the tippy top of our competition. The stuff they're able to do is really awesome.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
If you have any questions for Niv,
Niv, hit me up.
Yeah.
I've been designing champions, like I said, since 2018. So my first champion was Emma Frost.
Yes.
I'll list them off. I might not be able to. Like,
I have a list on my computer.
Yeah. So I did Emma. I did Aegon.
Yes.
I did all the Fantastic Four. I did Warlock, Psycho Man, Vision Arcus, Mojo, Sorcerer Supreme, Hit Monkey. Oh Lord, this is where it gets fuzzy.
I should have brought my list with
7-3,
me.
yeah, the 7-3 Kang boss, so not Superior Kang. Jessica Jones.
I know, dude. I should have brought my list. Help it out.
It's okay. I'm sure I'm forgetting one or two. I know Emma is the only mutant I've done, but I've done a handful in a couple of the other classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You excited? You want to do a mutant again?
Yes, I would love that. It's a little bit like, in a roundabout way, like we try and actually give a lot of the champion content to the kind of intermediate or more junior people on the team, because that's kind of just the experience we need. Whereas like at this point, like I've gone around the bases a couple times. I've done like a lot of the content. I got some stuff on the horizon that I'm working on, but it's a little bit different than the typical one. Except for let's see, what's the most vague way I can talk about this? When I first got onto MCOC, I joked that there was a champion in all of Marvel that if we ever did, I would want to do. And we are now doing that champion sometime in the next 18 months.
Wow, okay.
So, I'm doing at least, unless things change, production timelines can matter. I'm doing at least one other champion in a while.
A known name, probably.
Sorry?
Is it a known name?
It is a Marvel character.
All right, fair enough. All good, all good. All right. All right. All right. Will Aegon have more use in the near future? Wink, wink.
Interesting. Maybe. I can't talk about all the content that we're working on. There is some. We're announcing some stuff over the course of this week and our next live stream in November. So the best way to find out that kind of stuff is just to tune in there.
Yep.
Because the other thing is that, like, not working on the content teams, I don't want to, like, say something wrong and, like, pull the rug out from under them. So I have a general idea of what we're working on, but I'm not the definitive source. I need to consult other areas for that.
Aegon was a fun use for Bahamut.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what I was talking about earlier about the kind of like the heavy class thematics for these last couple bosses.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I have been on for a bit, so we will.
Sure.
We will
let you go. I'll do a quick fantasy thing else I can hit on quickly here.
Yes.
I guess fun. When is the Black Panther Civil War rework coming? So that one is on the back burner.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I talk about this a bunch with the CCP, but just to kind of say it here as well, like we have no shortage of stuff to work on. Mm-hmm. And so really what it comes down to, especially for the champion team, is not like if we want to do something, it's the order we want to do stuff in. So for instance, we've announced the Deathless Guillotine thing. I'm not going to talk too much more about it.
Okay.
But that was a super exciting opportunity for us to kind of go back and revisit the older kind of black and white characters in a way that fit in with our schedule, and that was the important part. The Black Panther Civil War work was going to sort of take more time than we could put against it compared to other kind of priorities.
Yeah,
so
okay. That's what I heard about Sentry as well.
and that's the thing I want to drive at, is that like these kind of initiatives are like really close to our hearts. There's a bunch of stuff that we want to do, but we're constantly juggling it against like all the stuff that we like have to do to kind of keep the game trucking along. So yeah.
When the time is right.
Sorry?
When the time is right.
Yes, precisely. Yeah.
All right.
Or if we had like 1 million additional staff members, that would also do it. Yeah.
They're always hiring, right?
That's true. I don't think we're hiring for any champ designers right now, but yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming by.
Yeah.
There we go.
There we go. Cool. It's nice to meet you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, man. I'll talk to you later in the CCP, of course.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, Nuve.
Yeah.
All right. Were you waiting?
I was.
Oh, man.